Mateo stood on the corner of 42nd Street. He was soaking wet. The rain in New York City doesn't fall down straight, it attacks you from the side. He looked at his phone. The battery was at 4%. He looked at the time. It was 5:45 p.m. He had exactly 15 minutes to get to the most important meeting of his life. He looked at his screen. The app said, "Searching for drivers." The little circle spun around and around. Spin. 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 Then, he looked up at the street. A bright yellow car zoomed past him. Then another. Then another. They were everywhere, like yellow sharks swimming in a river of gray water. Mateo had a choice. Trust the technology that was failing him. Or step into the street, raise his hand, and fight for a yellow taxi. But before we find out which ride Mateo chooses. Hello, travelers and city dwellers. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your teacher, and today we are visiting the concrete jungle, New York City. In this episode, you will learn English by listening to the story of Mateo, a young architect who finds himself trapped in the ultimate modern dilemma, taking a taxi versus using a rideshare app. We are going to explore the vocabulary of transportation, the stress of rush hour, and the unwritten rules of the New York streets. To help you understand the story, we are going to focus on 3 specific power words that you will hear today: hail, surge pricing, and destination. Are you ready to catch a ride? Let's go to Manhattan. Mateo had just finished a tour of the Empire State Building. He was visiting New York from Spain for a job interview. The interview was at 6 p.m. at an architecture firm in Soho. Let me explain the geography. The Empire State Building is in Midtown. Soho is downtown. They are not close. And at 5 p.m. on a Friday, the traffic in New York is a nightmare. Mateo walked out of the building. The sky was dark gray. Thunder rumbled like a hungry stomach. He pulled out his smartphone. He opened a popular rideshare app. You know the ones, Uber, Lyft. He typed in his destination. Your destination is the place you are going to. It is the end of your journey. Mateo's destination was Soho. He pressed request ride. But then, his eyes went wide. The price on the screen shocked him. $85. $85. For a 15-minute ride. Below the price, there was a small notification. It said, due to high demand, fares are higher than usual. This was surge pricing. Let me clarify. Surge pricing happens when too many people want a ride, and there are not enough drivers. The app automatically raises the price. It is very common when it rains. Mateo hesitated. That was a lot of money. But he needed to be on time. He sighed and pressed confirm. The app said, driver, Kevin. Arrival, 4 minutes. Mateo waited. The rain started to fall harder. He watched the little car icon on the map. It was moving toward him. 3 minutes away. 2 minutes away. 1 minute away. Then, the car icon stopped. It sat on the corner for a long time. Then, it started moving in the wrong direction. Mateo stared at the phone. No, Kevin. Turn around, he whispered. The phone buzzed. A message appeared, driver cancelled. Mateo groaned. He looked at the app again. Now it said, finding nearest driver. Arrival, 12 minutes. He didn't have 12 minutes. He had to move now. He put his phone in his pocket. He looked at the street. It was full of yellow taxis. The famous yellow cabs of New York. Mateo had seen this in movies. He knew what to do. You step off the sidewalk. You raise your hand high in the air. You look confident. He stepped to the curb. He raised his hand. He shouted, "Taxi." The first taxi drove right past him. The second taxi drove right past him. The third taxi slowed down, looked at him, and then sped away. Mateo was confused. Was he invisible? Was he doing it wrong? He felt foolish standing there with his arm in the air while the rain soaked his nice suit. He looked at the taxis closely. He noticed something. Some taxis had the number on their roof lit up with a light. Other taxis had the light turned off. This is the secret code of New York. If the light on the roof is OFF, the taxi already has a passenger. If the light on the roof is ON, the taxi is empty and available. Mateo had been trying to hail taxis that were already full. To hail a taxi means to signal for it to stop. It is the specific verb we use for taxis. You don't call a taxi with your hand, you hail it. Mateo scanned the street. He looked for a light. Finally, he saw one. A taxi with the roof light shining bright yellow. He stepped out further. He whistled, badly. He waved his arm. The taxi screeched to a halt right in front of him. Water splashed onto his shoes, but he didn't care. He opened the heavy door and jumped inside. The inside of the taxi smelled like old leather and pine air freshener. There was a plastic partition, a wall, between him and the driver. The driver was an older man with a gray cap. He looked at Mateo in the rearview mirror. "Where to, boss?" the driver asked. "Soho. West Broadway." Mateo said, breathing hard. "I am in a hurry. Please." The driver laughed. It was a rough, gravelly sound. "Everyone is in a hurry in this town, kid. But it's raining. The traffic is blocked." Mateo looked at the meter. It started at $2.50. It was much cheaper than the app. But the app used GPS to find the fastest route. The taxi driver. He just used his brain. "Don't worry," the driver said. "I know a shortcut." The driver spun the steering wheel. The taxi turned sharply down a side street. Suddenly, the ride became an adventure. The driver was weaving between delivery trucks. He was dodging buses. He was honking his horn. Honk. Mateo held onto the handle above the door. He felt like he was in a video game. "My name is Sal," the driver shouted over the noise. "I've been driving this cab for 30 years. I know every pothole in the city." Mateo smiled nervously. "I'm Mateo. I have a job interview." "An interview?" Sal shouted. "Why didn't you say so? We gotta get you there looking fresh." Sal sped up. He went through a yellow light, just before it turned red. Mateo looked at his phone. The GPS on his phone showed a line of red traffic on the main avenue. But Sal was on a quiet back road, moving fast. The rideshare app relied on satellites. Sal relied on experience. But then, disaster struck. They turned a corner, and there was a garbage truck blocking the entire street. It was stuck. It wasn't moving. "Oh, come on!" Sal yelled. He hit the steering wheel. They were trapped. They couldn't go forward. They couldn't go backward, because cars were behind them. Mateo checked his watch. 5:52 p.m. He had 8 minutes. "How far is it?" Mateo asked. Sal looked out the window. 3 blocks. Maybe 4. Mateo looked at the rain. It was pouring. If he ran, he would look like a wet dog for his interview. If he stayed, he would be late. He looked at the meter. The price was climbing. $15. $15.50. Mateo is stuck behind a garbage truck. It is a classic New York tragedy. Before we see if he decides to run or wait, let's look at the 3 power words that defined his journey. Word number 1, hail. This means to signal a vehicle, like a taxi or bus, to stop for you. You usually do this by raising your hand. Example, it started raining, so I tried to hail a cab, but they were all taken. Word number 2, surge pricing. This is a term used by apps like Uber or Lyft. It means the price increases temporarily, because demand is high, lots of people need rides, and supply is low, not enough drivers. Example, I didn't take an Uber home after the concert, because the surge pricing was too expensive. Word number 3, destination. This is the place to which someone is going. It is the end point of a trip. Example, we entered our destination into the GPS to find the fastest route. Okay. Mateo has hailed the cab, avoided the surge pricing, but he still hasn't reached his destination. Let's go back to the taxi. Listen, kid, Sal said, turning around. You can't go to an interview wet. You gotta look sharp. Sal looked at the garbage truck. Then he looked at the sidewalk. Hold on, Sal said. Sal put the taxi in reverse. He backed up 2 inches. Then he turned the wheel hard to the right. He drove the taxi up onto the curb. Sal. What are you doing? Mateo shouted. Sidewalk is wide here. Sal laughed. It's New York. Everything is a road if you are brave enough. Slowly, carefully, Sal drove the taxi around the garbage truck, using the edge of the sidewalk. Pedestrians stopped and stared. But Sal just waved at them. He popped the taxi back onto the street past the truck. Thump thump. He stepped on the gas. 2 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a fancy brick building in Soho. Here we are. Sal announced. 5:58 p.m. You got 2 minutes to spare. Mateo looked at the meter. It said $22.50. He remembered the Uber price, $85. He pulled out his credit card. In the old days, you needed cash for taxes, but now, all NYC taxes have card machines. He paid quickly. But then, he stopped. He pulled out a $10 bill from his wallet and handed it to Sal through the partition. This is for the shortcut, Mateo said. And for driving on the sidewalk. Sal grinned. He took the cash. Go get that job, kid. Mateo jumped out of the taxi. The building had an awning, a cover, so he didn't get wet. He smoothed his suit. He took a deep breath. He walked into the lobby just as the clock struck 6 p.m. The receptionist looked up. Mateo. You are right on time. Mateo smiled. He wasn't wet. He wasn't broke. And he wasn't late. He realized that sometimes, the smart technology isn't the best option. Sometimes, you need a human. Specifically, a human named Sal who isn't afraid of a garbage truck. Mateo learned a valuable lesson about city life. Apps give you convenience, but local knowledge gives you solutions. And in New York, knowing how to hail a cab is a superpower. The moral of the story is this: technology is great, but experience is priceless. Now, I have a question for you. Do you prefer using apps like Uber or Grab or Lyft, or do you prefer traditional taxis? Is it about the price, the safety, or the conversation? Tell me in the comments below. If you want to navigate the English language with the confidence of a New York taxi driver, Please click subscribe and listen to this episode next. We are going to explore subway vocabulary, how to ride the train without getting lost underground. Thank you for listening. Watch out for surge pricing, reach your destination safely, and I'll see you in the next story.